You know that feeling when one lane of a two-lane highway is closed for construction, and now everyone has to get through just one lane? Now picture that level of frustration only in the Panama Canal. Hi again, it's Jeff, back in your earbuds for another episode of Plain English. This one is number 634. So that means JR has uploaded the transcript and the full lesson resources to plainenglish.com/634. As you know, at Plain English, we use stories to help you upgrade your English, and the stories are about the world, what's going on, what's happening. And today's story is about the Panama Canal. This is the canal that connects Asia to the east coasts of North and South America. But there is a problem right now, and that is a drought in Panama. And the drought is limiting the number of ships that can pass through the canal. That's today's story. In the second half of the lesson, we talk about an English expression. And today, that expression is in place. It's a really good one. I'm surprised we haven't done it yet. In place is the expression, and we have a quote of the week. Let's get started. Whoever designed the current arrangement of the continents didn't have world trade in mind. Prior to 1914, ships sailing from Asia to the east coasts of North or South America had to take a circuitous route. They had to go south in the Pacific Ocean, around Cape Horn, the southernmost tip of South America, and then back north along the Atlantic coast. Not only is that route indirect, but it's also dangerous. But then the Panama Canal opened, allowing a shortcut. And since then, it has been a key to world trade. Today, about 6% of all ocean-going commerce passes through the canal, which has been modernized and expanded many times. On a good day, the canal can accommodate between 38 and 40 ships. But lately, the days have not been that good. That's because Panama is suffering a drought. On December 1st, the Panama Canal Authority limited the number of crossings to 24. Starting in February, that will go down to just 18, less than half its normal capacity. Why would a drought affect a canal? Well, the canal operates using a system of locks. These are the enclosed chambers that raise and lower the water level so that ships can go from one body of water to another. The water in the Panama Canal locks is fresh water, a lot of fresh water. The Panama Canal uses twice as much water in a day as does the city of New York. And the source of all that water is a series of man-made reservoirs. You know where this is going. Panama is a rainy place. It's one of the wettest countries in the world. The rainy season is between May and December. And in a normal year, the rainfall fills the reservoirs so that there's enough fresh water to power the canal for the full year. But this is not a normal year. The weather system that dumps rain on Panama is stuck to the south, so that Lake Gatun and other reservoirs have not refilled this year, and the rainy season is almost over. So the Panama Canal Authority is taking drastic measures to reduce the use of water in transit. In addition to limiting the traffic, the authority is also limiting the weight of the ships that pass through. Lighter ships cause less water displacement in the locks, but they can also carry less merchandise. All this means that shippers will face higher transit costs. Some ships will simply not get one of the limited slots to cross the canal. Shippers will have to reroute their ships around Cape Horn, adding time and expense to the journey. It's also possible to cross Panama by land, unload the containers on the Pacific side, transport them by train, and reload them again on another ship on the Atlantic side. But that too is expensive. The higher costs will likely be passed on to the customers of the goods going through the canal. When you think of the Panama Canal today, you might think of manufactured goods coming from Asia to the Americas. But grain, liquid natural gas, cars, and more all pass through the canal and are all likely to be more expensive now. The Panama Canal Authority warned the new restrictions will be in place for at least 9 more months, so the higher costs are here to stay, at least for a while. I would love to see the Panama Canal one day. It's on my bucket list. Just look at a map of the world. They carved a route across land to connect oceans, and they did it in 1914. I think that's just amazing, probably because I don't know much about engineering. I don't know much about physics, about a ship's draft, displacement, all that stuff. To me, it's just all a complete mystery. It's like magic. I love it. And you can visit. The most popular locks are not far from Panama City, the capital. Here's a quote for today. When we are tired, we are attacked by ideas we conquered long ago. When we are tired, we don't always think straight. We start to doubt ourselves. We have negative thoughts. So keep this in mind from the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. When we are tired, we are attacked by ideas we conquered long ago. In place is a versatile expression. One of the most popular ways to use in place is to say that something has been established and maintained. The words we use with in place are words like systems, plans, rules, measures, restrictions, and policies. These things can all be established and maintained. They can be valid. Let's start with a simple example using the word plans. A plan is in place when you have made a plan and when that plan is still valid. You're still using it or following it. The CEO of Apple is Tim Cook. He is 63 years old, and he cannot be the CEO forever. So Apple, like all large companies, has a succession plan. The succession plan is a plan for what happens when and if a key person leaves the company. Tim Cook could retire. He could be injured or even die. He could be fired. So the company needs a succession plan. And Tim Cook, in a recent interview, said that succession plans are in place at Apple. He said that he wants to work there for a long time. He said that he can't imagine his life without Apple. But even so, Apple has succession plans in place. That means Apple has made a plan for what happens if Tim Cook can no longer do his job. They made that plan. That plan is still valid. They'll use that plan if they need it. If something happens, they have this plan and they will follow it. So we say that the plan is in place. A system can be in place. A system is in place if the system has been created and if the system is working. I'll give you an example from plain English. You might know that we build translations right into the transcripts. It's a feature of the Plus membership. We have a system in place to produce those translations. That system's name is JR. No, I'm just joking. The system is bigger than JR. He's a big part of it. But we have a whole system in place. We have to select the words to translate, put them into a database, send them to our translators, get them back, work them into the code, and upload them to the website, and we have to do it on time. So there is a system, procedures, technology, timelines, all this stuff working together. We created a system, JR and I did, and we follow it. I say we, mostly JR follows it. He followed it this week. He followed it last week. He'll follow it in the future. The system is in place. We created the system, and it's working now. Policies can be in place. A policy is like a set of rules from some type of an authority figure. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we had social distancing policies, right? The policy was created and the policy was in place for a long time. We had to follow the rules for a long time. Now, the US is different from many countries in that a lot of laws a lot of rules, a lot of policies are made by the states, not by the national government. So in some states, social distancing policies were in place for over a year, 2 years even. In other states, social distancing policies were in place only for a few months. So when we say in place in this way, we mean how long were they valid for? There are no social distancing policies in place any longer. The policies are no longer valid, no longer active. We don't have to follow them anymore, so they are not in place. A restriction is a type of policy. It's a policy that limits something. And that brings me to how you heard it in today's story about the Panama Canal. You learned that there's a drought in Panama, and that drought is limiting the amount of fresh water available to operate the locks in the Panama Canal. The Panama Canal Authority is in charge of the canal, and the authority put restrictions in place to deal with the drought. They established the restrictions, they put them in place, and now in December 2023, and likely for many months in 2024, those restrictions are still in place. They are valid, they are still going on, so they are in place. And that is all for today's Plain English. Remember, this was lesson 634, so you can find the full lesson content at plainenglish.com/634. Do the exercises, watch the video, look at those transcripts with the translations. All that is possible at plainenglish.com/634. Thanks to JR and our fabulous system that we have in place, right? Coming up on Thursday, our last new episode of the year. We are almost done with 2023. How about that? And if English is in your plans for 2024, I cannot think of any better way to upgrade your English than to join us here at Plain English Plus. We have huge plans for the year ahead. I cannot wait for you to see it. And so you'll want to be part of Plain English Plus when that time comes. Check it out at plainenglish.com/plus, PLUS. See you on Thursday.